Chapter 8. The Warrior. Catherine, 1988, 3rd of May, 11 p.m. I don't catch buses anymore. Bus and brilliance only share a first letter. Not 6 years out of law school and people are already using that word. Brilliant. People that matter, that is. Most complimenting is just tedious, a precursor to a request, a favour or an offer. One always feels like a response is expected even when there's nothing in it for you. I try to keep social niceties to a minimum. My mind is wired differently to most people. I do have a brilliant mind. Well, I can't do anything about my nose. It's far too big, and so are my lips. For such a thin face, that is. So, change what you can. I prefer to tie my hair back tightly. It accentuates my cheeks. I don't mind them, the cheeks. I enjoy the feeling. I suppose it's power. That little power of not hiding my odd appearance, that is. It sets me apart. Apart is good. That is what I want more than anything else, to be apart. I think I'm actually at a point where I don't have to sleep with senior lawyers to advance my career. I should mark the day of this realization in a diary or in the inside of an old textbook and leave it in the law library, like a ticking bomb. I'm quite good at sex. I mean, I've perfected all the right elements, which is what men want. Well, they say they love my brain too. What they mean is that they fear it, and it seems apparent now that anything a man truly fears, he has to fuck his brains out and hope things are better. Or if they're not, well, he got a fuck out of it at least. Ridiculous. A woman's mind is not a sharp knife, not literally anyway. It's not going to cut anything precious off. Ideas are merely good ideas or just ones not ready to run yet. I'm a runner, always ready. My one flaw, perhaps, in addiction to running fast. No, ideas don't have a gender. Perhaps having my tent-pole legs over their shoulders gives them some sense of power or equality with me. But I don't think so. They're like animals to me, creatures of habit. You put the saucer of milk down and they lick. I, on the other hand, see opponents simply as a series of jugulars. Male or female neck is of no importance. You sure this is the place? One day men will come to me to advance their careers. Miss, this the address you want? And I'll get them to perform the most. Wake up, Catherine. What? K Road, miss. Sure you want to get out here, it's late. Of course. I shove a 20 into the driver's hand. This is where he lives. I slammed the door of the taxi behind me, knowing the driver was going crazy trying to figure out why a woman in a $400 suit would be standing in front of a badly painted 20-foot naked woman at 11 p.m. for a man. I hear him slip a tape into the cassette as he drives off. Billy Joel's Uptown Girl escaped the uneven taxi windows. Yes, I am. I stride past the two hookers leaning against the entrance and the ridiculously large Polynesian man guarding the front. Couldn't imagine what kind of bed he sleeps in. I check my own hastily scrawled note again. Down the alley, up the fire escape, past the room with the red light, past the black velvet room, up 3 stairs, tap on the wall twice. Feeling like some femme fatale from a 40s noir, I find the tiny end of the corridor. I can't help glancing into the red light room. It's empty, but I see velvet sashes at the 4 corners of the bed and wonder which of the judges I know might have lain there bound and helpless, asking for mercy. Ironic. I hold my breath as a vent from an Indian restaurant next door pours out a sudden plume of overseas spice. I hesitate before tapping on the wall. It looks caked with grime. I knock twice deliberately. Muffled footsteps cross the ceiling and a ladder noisily swings down from above, forcing me to dive out of the way. I keep myself off the filthy floor by the tips of my left hand and the discarded beer carton under one knee. Danny's head pokes out of a hole in the ceiling. He frowns. I think he frowns. His hair is so long it covers most of his face. He didn't stand on the footprints like I told you. I glance down and see 2 painted footprints. Obviously, I was intoxicated by the exotic aroma of your home. He bangs the top of the ladder with his palm. Pissing me off again, Cat, isn't a good idea if you want something really bad. Only Danny calls me Cat. I never correct him, which is unusual of me. I didn't now. How do you know it's bad? You're here. He half climbs down the steps and offers a hand. It feels warm, reassuring as always. The attic apartment, if I'm being kind, is divided into 3 parts. 1/3 is all the junk of the other occupants. Danny is just shoved into a corner. In the second part, a bed, sink, bench with an old jug and toaster. The third, and the place I immediately make for, is a French window opening out onto the roof. A hot, late summer night, almost autumn. The glow from the city curving beneath the bellies of the clouds. Stars shine, and I see why he's picked this wreck out from all the other cheap wrecks. It has the best view for miles, and I stand against the rail admiring it with the light of his single 75-watt bulb pouring onto the roof. Danny puts a black tea next to me onto the rail. The cup looks safe, but I don't touch it. He half sits, half leans across the shingles on the roof and watches me. I can see his cigarette glowing in the shadow of the peaked roof. I see you still have your camera, I say. It's lying on the bench near the toaster, the only place you can put a camera or anything you don't want to pick up. You wanted to pick up again without disinfecting. Small talk? That's not the Cat we know, and I mean, you don't have to. 15 minutes should be max if we keep to the point. You think I'm thinking of leaving already? You're not really here. I know you. That's any way you could possibly force yourself into such squalor. I've changed, Danny. He laughs, and his cigarette falls onto the decking. I don't care about this sort of thing, I continue. I just want what I want, and I'll do whatever is necessary to get it. He roars something I can't decipher before the words come. So you're exactly the same. I don't have any hot shots on my camera for you to steal this time, Catherine. Well, they're pretty hot, but not what you'll be interested in. Naked women? No, of course not. Several have G-strings on. I'm here about the Rainbow Warrior. He immediately adjusts his pose, rather defensively, I think. How did you... I don't have anything on that. But you will. He looks at me with his puzzled underdog look. Danny, do you have a smaller camera, something that could be hidden? He blows out his cheeks. I don't know what it is, Cat, but I know it's going to be trouble, so nice to see you, and well, I guess, goodbye. He walks to the hole in the floor where the ladder clatters down to let the privileged few into his private tower. I don't move. You're a fake, I snap. Excuse me? The leather jackets and ripped jeans, the unkempt long hair and beard, even the dope. Yet when it comes to doing something really important, it's just too hard, isn't it, Danny? Life got too hard. He flicks the safety catch and the ladder clatters down. As I said, Cat, nice to see you. You wanted to work for Greenpeace, Danny. This is a chance to work for them and for your country. He throws his head back and laughs, then grabs the stub of his rollie before it falls again from his mouth. For you, Cat? You do for you. Danny, would I breathe the air here if this wasn't real? He snorts. It was perhaps the truest thing I'd said since getting there. He knows me that much. Danny leans back against the ladder top. Okay, go ahead. The French agent, the woman, they're sending her back to France. Dominique Priere? He guesses right. Yes. Marfar's her husband, the other bomber. He's already gone. Priere's pregnant. They let her husband fly out to Hal Atoll, some prison. It's an excuse to get her back to France, too. Some baloney about the hospital not being good enough. She is, 40 or so, Cat? They're circumnavigating the state responsibility question. Seriously peeved about not getting their way on superior orders. Danny frowns, and I realize my legal jargon is flying high over his unkempt mop. Poor Danny. He has to work so hard at looking uneducated and one of the masses. Look, basically the French government argues that the bombers couldn't be treated as criminals because they were under orders. and that because they gave us some money for blowing up our harbour, that ends any obligation they have to keep their own agents in jail. Cat, these people set off fucking nuclear bombs on pristine Pacific atolls. Did you think they would keep their word? Danny, you know I don't like the F word. Anyway, they could be made to, and that's where I and therefore you possibly come in. Oh, I so don't want to hear this, Cat. He starts to climb down the ladder. They're sending an Orion with a New Zealand doctor on it to ascertain if they have any justification for repatriating her back to France. I smile at him and let him fill in the gaps. I know he'd feel better about himself if I let him figure it out. And you got on this plane how, Cat? Everything is legal with the Rainbow Warrior affair, and I got lucky. The government lawyer doesn't like flying. Well, I don't either, but I'm ambitious. Yeah, so I've heard. I think I got this, Cat. Tiny cameras. You want me to take some secret pictures at a French military base and then probably from the inside of some grotty French dungeon? I look around his room and raise an eyebrow. Yeah, okay, I get it, he says. I get it. So you want pictures of her, the hospital, to prove the facility is just fine, is more than peachy. If they still protest, I'll personally contact Gary Bourne, the leading expert in international arbitration. Then it's the UN. Danny climbs back up the ladder and stands looking directly into my face. I put the poker one on. By God, Cat, he says. You don't give a shit if this works. Either way, you get your name in the game, right? I mean, your name being whispered in the hallowed halls of the UN for outsmarting the French, or embarrassing them at least, right? Whispered? I say. This is fucking... Oh, sorry. Look, this is the worst case of self-promotion I've ever seen. Just to get noticed at the UN? Just to work with Gary Bourne is to make it, Danny. I'll have made it. He tries to hide the smirk on his face by turning away. But Danny smirks with his whole body. Well, you're not exactly doing anything else worthwhile, are you, I say. He goes silent. Oh well, don't do anything then. I turn away. It's all rush, by the way, Danny. They don't trust the French. The plane leaves from Whenuapai. Soon. What day? He mumbles. 5 a.m. Yes, the next 5 a.m. I move to the ladder. He has to stand up straight to let me past, and he almost trips into the hole. I hold his arm, and I feel him relax, letting me help him. That's when I know, when he tosses the cold cigarette butt down the ladder and just stands there staring at me. It was obvious, in the flick, the pause, the look. He was still in love with me. And if he couldn't have that, then being near me would do, even if being near me was extremely dangerous.